You are listening to the Frankton Eagles Report every Wednesday on the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Welcome, Frankton Eagle fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for this week's and the inaugural Frankton Eagle Report, where we're going to talk about what's happened with the Frankton Eagles boys basketball team, what's coming up, and typically we're going to talk to an assistant coach or a player, talk a little basketball, get to know the players. But since it's the first one, and since there is some breaking news, we're going to spend this time talking with Coach Brent Brobston. And Coach, the first thing I want to know is, obviously you came into the season with expectations. Through the first 10 games of the season, have they met, surpassed, or not, or failed to meet expectations in your mind so far?
I think we've played probably better than expected early. We're 7-3. You know, I don't know. Last year we were 3-8 at this in our first 11 games, and then we never lost again the rest of the year. And so I think that this team had a really good offseason. I think my assistant coaches and the players, we've done a good job in the summer where we travel together. This year we spent multiple nights, 3 or 4 nights down in southern Indiana together. We went to Ohio together. We do team trips together all summer to try to get ourselves really geared in on what the program's about and also getting camaraderie amongst these guys. So right now I feel really good about where we're at. Sitting at 7-3 and have played some really good basketball. And I talked to the guys today just about that and the fact that we want to just keep moving in the right direction as we head into the last 2 months of the season.
And you have some quality seniors on your team, but the core of this team's still pretty young.
I mean, you got a junior in Trey Bennett, a freshman, Brent Brobston, that are playing a lot of minutes. Isaac Fair's a kid that's come off the bench. Cal Osborne. Isaac's a sophomore. Cal, a freshman's played. Greer Klein, a junior, has played some. So those guys, and Greer's he's been injured, so he's trying to get back and get healthy and get himself back as well. It's, then we've got a mixture of seniors and Stansbury, Melvin, Nickham, and Birch. So with those 4 guys, I couldn't be more pleased with my seniors. I mean, just tremendous leaders. These are 4 guys that are going to be very successful in life, which is what this is all about anyways. And the things that they've provided this year, I'm super proud of my senior class.
You talked about the 4-0 start, and it wasn't like it was 4 easy opponents that you scheduled at the beginning. You talk about Taylor, Tipton, Monroe Central, all really quality programs.
We looked at that schedule saying we could start off 1-3. I mean, we thought, although I think that Muncie Burst is a storied program as well, and we were going on the road over there, I felt like that's a game that we should get and we should win, but you never know. And he does a good job with his team over there. So then we felt like Taylor, Tipton, and Monroe Central would be very difficult to win all those games. So our strength of schedule showed early in the first 10 games, and you can see that. But it also has made us into what we need to, kind of form into and what we needed to get better at. So real happy with where we're at.
I think the one negative would be that you're 0-2 in the CIC. Completely understandable loss to Oak Hill. Did a loss like that, even against a good team, concern you a little bit?
That loss really helped us because it showed us where we need to get. And Oak Hill's a team we could meet potentially later in the season. If you were able to advance all the way to the semi-state, we would have that opportunity. But obviously our goal is just to win the sectional game at a time. But if you take those, when I was younger in my coaching career, when we had a loss, I would just move on to the next game. That's not the way you do it. And so I learned that within a couple of years that we've got to break down the film, see what we were bad at and deficient at, and really get better. And so Coach Fisher's, he's one of a kind. I mean, he spends relentless hours in here helping me with film, and that's exactly what him and I did. We got right back to it. We figured out what we were doing wrong, got right back to the kids, showed the kids what we're doing wrong, and moved on. So that game actually made us better. And Oak Hill's really good. And the situation there is that everyone's trying to get to where they're at. But right now they're on top. And it's going to be difficult for anyone in the conference to beat them this year.
And speaking of on top, 4 days later, you come back and beat a really good Wapahani team.
Yeah, Wapahani's an outstanding team. They're well coached, and that was a very good win for us because not only do you have that, you have two kids on that team that are going to Taylor and Indiana Wesleyan.
That's right.
And so with those two kids, that's a tough matchup. So that was a really good win for us. Probably another one that we just didn't know which way that would go, but another nice win for this team.
And then, as we'll typically do each week, let's talk about last week. You bring in a new tournament along with Elwood head coach Ryan Van Skyok, the Central Indiana Holiday Classic. And we talked about this a little bit the other night on the Central Indiana Sports Report, but having a couple of days to reflect your thoughts overall on the tournament, and you expect it to continue.
Well, it was kind of a thing for us that, was a little bit controversial of not playing, trying to not do the county tournament. And so the county tournament to us, we were playing a lot of the same teams, and you're playing a lot of the same teams over and over. And I think that's why you see some of the counties around us don't do that. And so we were able to keep individual sports in the county tournament, and we were able to move into a different direction. And I think it was awesome. I think it was just great. We had 18 teams from around the state. It was the biggest tournament in the state of Indiana. Well publicized. Like I said, you did a great job being here. We had Greg Rakestraw here. We had Next Play Sports here. We had Winchester Radio, Randolph Southern Radio, and multiple reporters here to cover it. And actually had a whole article written about it that I found today that somebody sent to me about our gymnasium, our community, and they did a rating system on it, which was really neat. So the one thing that was really cool about this tournament was when you looked at the final day and you looked on John Harrell, none of these teams had ever played each other. And that's what we were going for with our programs. Not that we didn't like the county tournament. There's very good things about the county tournament as well. But what we were going for was let's play teams that we don't play. Let's expose our kids to other teams in other parts of the state when we have the opportunity to do that. And so it went really well. Overwhelming response. I don't know if we're getting to that next, but there's an overwhelming response to come back to it. But we've also added some big-time programs to our tournament next year that are some of the best storied programs in Indiana.
Let's talk about that in just a minute. First, I want to ask about your team's performance in the tournament. 2 wins on the first day. Second day, a game you probably feel like you let get away a little bit, but understandable. You don't play a game the day after you play 2 very often.
It was great. What I really liked, that's another thing I liked about this tournament is on the Friday, it sets you up to play almost like a regional, or well, now it's a semi-state, but you had to play a morning game and an afternoon or evening game. And we played well in the Cherubusco game. The North Judson game was probably the best game we played all year. From a shooting standpoint, we were 9 for 10, I think, from 3 to open the game. That's probably offensively the best game we've played all year. North Judson proved to be a tough team. The next day they came back and took Winchester to a last-second shot. Winchester's got a nice team. And then the final day playing Heritage, well coached, because I love Austin Compton. And obviously for me, he's got a special place in my program, in my heart. Kid did everything for Frankton that he could do. Unfortunately, he knows everything that I do. So I thought Heritage did a really good job of preparing for us, and they were a really good team. It's one of the better teams we've played all year. They're 8-1 for a reason. They're a big 3A school. And that was it was just a really good matchup for us. And it was, again, like you said, made us uncomfortable in some situations, but made us better.
And here in just a minute, we'll talk about what's coming up this week. And before we get to the breaking news about the tournament, and I did know when I asked you the question, I knew the answer, but I don't know why I asked it that way. Trey Bennett last year kind of broke out a little in the later half of the season, started to become a bit of a leader, a go-to guy on your team. His development between his sophomore and junior year, tell us about the kind of player he's become.
Well, I can't say enough about Trey Bennett. Colleges should be looking at him. He's going to be able to play at the next level. Some people are going to have to get on him because they're missing out. This kid is outstanding. He's 6'6", size 16 shoes, 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. Might be 6'7" or 6'8" before it's over. We're talking about a kid that went from his freshman year playing on the C team to dressing varsity by the end of that year, sophomore year starting, being an all-conference selection. This year, just having a tremendous year, double-doubles every game, consistent for us. You can't teach effort and heart, and this kid has all that. He's worked in the offseason to get better. And the one thing that probably makes us the most proud is work better in the classroom. And his GPA, I just told him at practice today, I think he had a 3.4 for the semester. He's worked hard to get better in the classroom, and I'm sure there's things he can still do better. But we're so proud of him that and how he's developed as a young man over the last 4 years that we can't say enough about him.
And we will meet your seniors here in the next couple of weeks. But I want to know, and I know it's not the first time, what's it like coaching one of your children again?
It's I asked him that last night going home. I said, maybe you'd be better off somebody else coaching. You never know how they feel as a kid. And he said, I wouldn't want to play for anybody but you. And that makes you feel good. So I've been through it with Aiden, and we did 4 years together, and it was such great memories with his class and the kids he graduated with, the kids he played with before him and the ones that followed him. But he had the opportunity to go play college basketball, and it worked out really well for him and getting his degree and all that. Ashton has got a lot of potential, and so I'm trying to push him to be the best player he can. But when you leave the gym, you try to leave it at the gym, but that's hard to do sometimes. So I think most would be lying to say they don't still talk about it when they leave the gym, and we probably talk about it a little more when we leave also. But he's reacted well. He's been mentally tough this year to criticism. From a positive standpoint, I'm very proud of him. And again, Ashton, straight A student, I'm proud of him for that. Probably more proud of him for that than anything. And he needs to make sure to take that the most serious first, because that's what's going to reap the rewards. But as a basketball player, he's getting better and better every week.
Either of them want to be a coach?
I know Aiden doesn't. He's got his degree in national security, wants to go into the federal government and work. Doesn't know for sure exactly what he wants to do yet, but he's applying and doing different things to try to get himself into those positions. And I don't know. I don't know that Ashton, I could see him more. There's a greater chance of him wanting to coach one day than there would be Aiden.
It's kind of a family business,
Yeah, they see the hours and the time and the commitment, and you're not home a lot. And when you're an athletic director and coach, you've committed yourself to your community and your school probably more than you have your family at times. And you have to watch that. I mean, you got to be able to maintain both. It's not for everyone. And I think that's why you see 125 to 150 new athletic directors every year in Indiana. The rollovers, I think 25% or whatever. So they see that. So I don't know that they want to do that. It's not really in Aiden's personality as much to be a head coach. I could see him coaching youth basketball, junior high teams, being an assistant coach. Ashton's probably got the better chance of that, of wanting to coach maybe one day. But I'm proud of everyone. I'm proud of my daughter, Addison, who played 3 sports here too. And
that's right.
She did well too.
All right, Coach, let's talk about the breaking news, and then we'll talk about what's coming up this week, and it's a big one. You mentioned that you're adding teams to the tournament next year, the Central Indiana Holiday Classic, and it seems like you took a concept and you're expanding on it.
Yeah, so like we said, it went really well. I thought it was very well organized. Alexandria did an absolute great job over there. Elwood did a great job, and here we had a lot of support and help. Ryan Van Skok was tremendous in developing the idea. Alexandria was gracious in letting us get them involved in hosting and being part of it, and the girls and boys. And so you got those 3 communities that are within 10 minutes. And I think next year we're probably looking to expand to a 4th school. We may be going to 24 teams because we have such an overwhelming response of teams wanting in it that I don't think we'll be able to take everybody. And we're getting the likes of Westfield, who's coming next year, Lafayette Jeff. We've been contacted by Ben Davis, and that's, I think, a real strong possibility. Marion. There's bigger schools wanting in it. Hobart, Evansville, Bosse. So teams that we're hearing from around the state that this tournament's probably going to expand, and we're probably going to have a bigger class of a group of 4As in this tournament, which would be really cool, I think, for people at Frankton, Elwood, Ellick to be able to see. When you talk about a matchup like Westfield Ben Davis or a matchup like Lafayette Jeff and Evansville Bossy, any type of matchup like that, Marion, these traditions of some of the most storied programs in Indiana basketball history to come to Frankton to play in a holiday tournament, we would absolutely love hosting all of them. And so we're getting more of those teams with a lot of the ones that were here wanting to come back and some new ones that are small schools wanting to come in. So it won't surprise me if we get to the 2014 mark and we have a fourth school hosting this event as well.
With this concept, you could go up to 36 or even more. You have host schools and then you have one full day of great games at one location.
Yeah, they're putting the heat on us. I'm lucky at Frankton because I'm very fortunate, and everyone really, I will say Marty Carroll and Ryan Van Skok both liked the final day being here. They liked the atmosphere. They liked how close the gyms were together. And both those guys I'm pretty close with, obviously. And so I think we will brainstorm together on this thing. And I look for the first day to be at 3 or 4 schools and then day 2 to all be back at Frankton again. And so we're really excited about bringing programs in. We've heard a lot of good reviews, and we had one coach here that has over 400 wins. I won't name him, but he said in his 42 years of coaching that it was one of the best holiday tournaments he ever played in. That narrows it down a little. You can figure it out. But it meant a lot to us, like for somebody like him to tell us that he's coming back next year. And so that was what it was kind of all about, is getting this going. At first we thought, okay, we'll travel, we'll go away, we'll see some other places. But now that we have this response, we've got schools traveling here that we never get to play or never get to see, and we're being exposed to. And it was really neat for not only the coaches to see different caliber kids play, like Blackford was here, and you've got the Leggett kid who's a Division I recruit. And so that's good for him. For the Leggett kid, he's, you're able to be seen by North Judson, Cherubusco, teams from all around that not necessarily will ever see him play. But when an all-star ballot comes out, those coaches now know what kind of player he is. And that's what's kind of cool about it, is you're exposing all of your players to all these different coaches and your program. And
who can say no to a full day of basketball?
For us, like people talked, day 2 was $10. We had 9 games here. So you paid $10 and you could watch 9 high school basketball games. And so we had some that did, and we had some that came and might watch 1 or 2, come back, watch 1 or 2 later. Day 1 was $15, but your team played twice. So it was like paying $7.50 a game to get in.
I was here from noon to 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, you spent relentless hours here watching it.
I drink up a lot of Frankton's Diet Dr. Peppers, that's for sure.
And coffee. Did you have any coffee?
I don't know.
But it was, like you said, it was just an outstanding day of basketball. And it was awesome to see programs here that you've just never played and that have never played against each other. And that's what we were looking for, and that's what's really developed for us.
All right, Coach, just one game this week, and it's Saturday against rival Lapel, and I want to know, what do you dislike most about Lapel? I'm just kidding. I keep trying to get Coach Brobston and Coach Cherry to dislike each other, but it hasn't worked.
Well, here's a story on Coach Cherry and I. We played against each other in junior high. So when we were young, we knew each other growing up, and I obviously watched him play at Pendleton Heights. Him and his brother, they were very good players, but it's a rivalry game. These kids, it makes it fun. It's a rivalry. They want to win. Lapel's got a great tradition, excellent tradition, as good as anybody in the state. And we've got a good tradition here. And so, between the school system, it's pretty cool to have 2 schools that have had this much success, not only in basketball, but in all kinds of different sports that you're seeing. So that's really good for our school system. Our school system comes together on this night. When you first start coaching, you don't understand rivalries as good. And maybe, 20 years ago when I started this or whatever, I didn't respect it as much as I do now, how fun it is for the kids and what the environment's like in terms of a Frankton Lapel game. But also I've grown to really respect Lapel, and we're very similar. Obviously the communities are very, very similar, and there's great people at Lapel. There's great people in Frankton, and we'll tip it up Saturday night and see who wins. And it's always kind of a back and forth thing, it seems like. And Coach Cherry has done a really good job. And it's been that way, though, I was fortunate enough to coach against what I think is one of the best coaches to ever do it, ever in Indiana, Jimmy Howell.
Of course.
And I've developed a friendship with Coach Howell and actually more of a mentorship. And I call him and I ask him for advice. I did that just last week. And now you have Coach Cherry coming in, and he's, done a good job with them. This year they're really good. And a lot of people thought, okay, they might not be as good this year. They're just as good, if not better.
I say not a lot of programs can lose 2,000-point scores and still be really good.
They're just as good. And probably in ways people could say they're better. I mean, but both those players they lost were outstanding kids and outstanding players, but they just really reload on it in terms of what they got coming. And I knew that because their JV was 20-0. So it's no surprise to me of how good they are this year. It'll be a battle for us in every aspect that night, and we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to the challenge of the game, the opportunity to play in that environment, and the opportunity to get better.
Give me one key. What would be the main key to competing and beating Lapel?
You have to defend really well in that game. This game here is a game. This is the best offensive team we've played all season. They're explosive, and Oak Hill's kind of hard to beat, I guess, in that category. But I would put Lapel right up there with Oak Hill offensively, in terms of how explosive they can be in a hurry because they got so many people that can shoot it. And so if we're not on our game defensively, and it's got to be one shot and done, they can't have any offensive boards. That's going to be a huge factor in the game. How well can we defend them? So the other part of the game is we got to take care of the basketball. We got to make sure we take care of the basketball and get great possessions.
Frankton head coach Brent Brobston, thank you so much, and look forward to talking to you on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much to Coach Brobston and the entire Frankton athletic staff. They are truly the best. And thank you for listening. Please join us again Saturday for our recap of Frankton Lapel with comments from Brent Brobston. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.